Welcome back to our final series here of round one. We have more games. Don't worry about it. But this is our final series of round one as we determine who goes to 1 and 0, who goes to 0 or 0 and 1. There we go. That's the hands. And it's going to be ByuN and it's going to be Elazer and Steadfast. We left that interview with Solar saying, you know what? ByuN is the best player in the world. On this 2 racks opener, he's fantastic at it. He knows all the branches, all the trees, all the different, I don't know, world trees, whatever it is. Moving out of that. But Elazer is a player that also kind of marches to the beat of his own drum, plays his own brand of Zerg. How do you think we're going to see this matchup happen?
That is a good question. I think there's going to be a lot of focus on early game and mid game units. Obviously, like you said, I think ByuN is definitely going to bring the heat with those Reapers. I would almost be surprised if he doesn't 3 racks Reaper in at least 1 game. We will see, though. We do have the vetoes here as Altitude gets taken out by ByuN. No surprise. Elazer vetoing Dragon Scales first, and then Gressvon. So he actually lets Neo-Humanity and Babylon through. ByuN vetoing the 2 Terran vetoes, I would say, with, Ancient Cistern and Altitude. But Elazer taking a very different approach here.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, Elazer is not a late game Zerg. You know, Elazer is not cut from the same cloth of a Serral or a Rogue. Of course, he's military right now, but one of these players that is very happy or just even wants to play in that late game. Once you get 5, 6, 7 bases, Elazer is going to hit you with timings. He's going to hit you with 1/1 Ling Bane. He's going to maybe hit you with a Hydra Ling Bane off like a 2/1/2 something. He wants to go and end the game earlier and build an advantage early. So we're going to have to see if he can do that one. As in the upper left on New Humanity on the most interesting map in the pool for Team Liquid, it's Elazer. Power of Liquid.
And his opponent spawning down in the bottom right for the Shopify Rebellion. Give it up for the man with the moves. It is Micro ByuN Jackson.
A 1-man army. On the scale of nicknames, Steadfast, you know, we've had just a normal guy. We've had the Smiling Assassin. We've had the 1-man army, as ByuN is so apparently known. How do you feel? Like, on the scale of nicknames, how are we looking at the Power of Liquid, 1-man army? Where's that rank?
I mean, the Power of Liquid is like, it's kind of generic. It's kind of meh for me. But the 1-man army, that's pretty cool. And that like really fits with the narrative when ByuN won that. It was the World Championship, I believe, despite the fact that he was teamless. And he kind of did it on his own during a period of time where that was kind of unheard of. And you know what? I think that in the context of that, it's pretty freaking awesome nickname.
Is it better than Micro Jackson, though?
I mean, I'm a little biased because I used Micro Jackson just now. So, I mean, obviously not. You know, like Micro Jackson is the better one. But no, I think they're both pretty cool nicknames. I think we don't do enough to like create lore for the players. I think that's something that really creates character for the players, and I think it's really fun.
Yeah. You talk about things that are really fun, though, and interesting and different, although at this point it's not. ByuN is opening with the 2 racks once again, but Steadfast, the good news for ByuN, if you're a ByuN fan, is the fact that ByuN spawned on the right side of the map. ByuN has not played, and I swear this happens like 80% of the time, where ByuN will actually spawn on the left side and he'll do it anyways, and then his add-ons are exposed, and it gets a little awkward sometimes, but ByuN doesn't even have to worry about it this time. He's got the right side, he got the proper spawn. And that means Reapers are going to be able to do whatever they want. You don't have to worry about add-ons. And this Reaper is going to be able to deny the 3rd base for forever now because Elazer wants to take the gold one. And he didn't send a drone out early. This is, I guess he gets the last mining shot out at this point. But I mean, this is awkward now for Elazer. Taking the 3rd is going to take forever now. This is rough.
It is very uncomfortable for him, that's for sure. But he does have a situation where he can send the drone down whenever. It feels like he is kind of delaying it, I guess, a little bit on purpose, maybe in reaction to this 3 Reaper play, because there is a danger of taking the 3rd base too quickly and having problems. But ByuN behind this, he got a quick second gas. He's getting a factory, and he takes the 3rd command center super quickly. That's the other problem with this build, is it can pivot either way, and ByuN basically was able to do this reactively pretty much, like upon seeing what he saw. Like, this is this is just a great situation for ByuN already, I feel like.
And Steadfast, you know, you talk about ByuN's builds and ByuN's opportunities. ByuN and Elazer have played each other fairly recently. They played in Yanchiping in the I want to say in the one of the elimination games there. But they played a best of 3, and rarely have I seen ByuN stomp someone as bad as he stomped Elazer there. He won a game on Ancient Cistern by building something like 16 Reapers and putting them in medevacs.
Yep.
And
yeah,
off the
15
Reaper pressure.
Reapers medevacs. Yeah.
Yeah, so this didn't happen this game, but I'm not too surprised to see ByuN build himself a pretty significant advantage off the Reaper play early on, just, again, given recent history.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about ByuN, right? Like, we talk about it all the time, offline versus online ByuN. When offline, if he can merge those two personalities, if he can merge offline and online ByuN into one player, he will win 3 of the next 5 world championships. You know, like, he will do it. It's just, can we see that continue? And at the very least, versus Elazer, we saw that version of ByuN. We saw online ByuN. And I mean, as Elazer, that's got to leave a mark, you know, with how the way in which he was beaten 3-1, the scoreline did not reflect how much of a drubbing it really was.
Yeah, and I think the other thing we have to point out here, Steadfast, you talk about offline versus online ByuN. Well, first of all, ByuN's on the B stream right now, so he's not in front of it. He's not on stage. But there are 2 other things, and that it felt like even as ByuN did have to pause the game against Stray in Yanchiping due to his wrist issues, I think in general, he handled those wrist issues a lot better in Yanchiping than he has in pretty much any recent tournament that's not the PSL. So seems like he's maybe able to handle that a little bit better. And on top of that, this tournament, you know, the stage is fantastic, and we've seen all the production value here, but the actual number of seats is not all that much. It is rather, the crowd is going to be smaller than something like DreamHack Atlanta or something where it's just going to be this massive crowd. And I wonder if that is going to, again, I don't know what it is that triggers online versus offline ByuN. Is it just being in a new place? Is it having different desks? Is it playing on stage? Is it playing on stage in front of a crowd? Is it playing on stage in front of a large crowd like a DreamHack Atlanta crowd versus a GSL sized crowd? I don't know what the inflection point is. But the crowd, again, the number of seats is smaller in this event, and that might just be something that can help out ByuN just a little bit. But for now, Steadfast, there's a push.
Yes, there is. We got a fair amount of creep getting cleared up. Didn't get every single creep tumor here. Medevacs are going to rally forward. It's a kill, not a cancel on the 4th base for Elazer, and this is already a brutal situation for Elazer here. By the way, I do want to mention, yes, this cloaked Banshee. So Elazer saw the Banshee. ByuN has used Cloak Banshee follow-up against this setup. But in this case, he only got the one, didn't get Cloak. It keeps tabs on the 4th base, but more importantly, it forced out the sports. We're going to see another cancel coming on in here. And this is getting brutal right now. That's the 3rd, 4th, and 5th barracks, right? Not the 6th, 7th, and 8th? Not an 8 racks yet? No, yeah, that's way too early. Oh, wait, 5 barracks? Those just finished, though, right?
Yeah.
Production tab.
But I mean, the thing we got to talk about here, you talk about timing and you talk about what exactly ByuN's going for. His 1-1 is so far in advance to what Elazer's doing. I mean, it actually might be done before, give him a 10-second window when he has 1-1 and there's no Bailey speed. And now there's Banshee. There's no, Elazer's not reacting to this. I don't see any queens on the map responding to this until, I guess, right now. So heavy damage on that perspective, 4th base. Elazer on the other side is gonna, I think, very quickly is gonna lose the north side. And ByuN defense is 3rd. I mean, ByuN is everywhere where he needs to be. He's not anywhere he doesn't need to be. And at this point, we got to be asking ourselves what Elazer's kind of, I don't know that we say win condition yet, but kind of the pressure release valve. What forces ByuN back home? What allows Elazer to play on the map and start to play the game that he wants to play and not the game that ByuN is forcing him to play?
Well, I mean, it's the trademark Elazer move, and that's probably going to be Burrow. He loves his Burrow play. By the way, ByuN immediately started. Did he immediately start? It looks like he immediately started his 2. Wait, no, did he? Oh, maybe 2-2 was a little bit late. But it's timed up nicely. He didn't do the ByuN thing. We are going to see the Lings. Oh, nice little Burrow play. Scan comes down on the other side of the map. Will once again finally. Actually, no, there's still some creep. He missed a tumor early, and that actually does cause some problems. But it's going to be another kill on this fourth base. It is so difficult to take this base on Neo Humanity.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I looked at this map, and then when we first started casting, it felt very Zerg favored. You know, it's hard for the Terran to take the forward base. It was a little bit awkward. This run by is actually going to be
shooting
really nice. The tank gets targeted down, and the Marines, they just get surrounded here. ByuN's not ready for this. And on the other side, Bailey's are going to get great connections as well. All of a sudden here, Oliveira, or not Oliveira, Elazer finds a lot of pressure. 30 workers go down all of a sudden. And as long as he can deal with this push from ByuN, he's going to be in a great spot. But this is a lot of bio steadfast. The Queens fall down. Bailey's aren't ready yet. Even still, here come the Bailey's. The target fire's great, though. ByuN is going to break this position wide open, I think, but actually, reinforcements on the backside on the reinforcement line here. Here comes Elazer. The tank's going to go down. Eventually, Elazer has a fantastic 30 seconds.
Yes, he does. And ByuN made a tragic misclick there during the defense. The defensive tank was shooting at that little pillar behind the high yield gas base. You can see it's yellow right there from the damage it took. It soaked maybe 3 or 4 siege tank shots that did nothing to help defend. And that is a big reason why Elazer was able to find a lot more damage than maybe he should have been able to. But he got it, and it was really good. He is still on a pretty low economy for a Zerg player at this stage. 60 drones is not a lot. ByuN was able to pick off a few of them during the follow-through on that push. And the 2-2 versus 1-1 timing is going to be massive.
That it is. It's just a long timing that ByuN has to deal with. And I think realistically, you know, I got excited. I'm like, wow, 30 workers go down. Elazer breaks the push. That's an equalizing force. That was an equalizing move more than it was a game, an advantage finding move, a position that would have put Elazer ahead in this game, because you're absolutely right. Elazer's economy, not all that great. And part of that is just Elazer being Elazer and wanting to play this mid game and wanting to have a bigger army than he might otherwise have. But now we are absolutely starting to see that. Yep, you know, Elazer, he's on 5 hatch. He's on 5 bases. Great. He's not mining out of them, and now he's going to lose a bunch of queens here as well. Or not. You know, Burrow's going to drop, but the queens will die anyways. So now ByuN kind of unfettered access to this base here until the Lings arrive. But he's got 2-2 versus 1-1. He can just sit here and take a fantastic trade until the Banelings arrive and is forced back. And now left side, I mean, again, Elazer had that great 30 seconds steadfast. The other 10 minutes of 30 seconds of this game, they still have really all been ByuN.
Yes, they certainly have. And we are seeing the continued pressure really pile on up here. And even the mid-game play from Elazer, where he likes to be very aggressive, he wants to be on this drone count. He wants to be on like 76. So the fact that he was on that relatively lower drone count, even after finding the damage, yeah, it does lead to an uncomfortable position. Now, for Elazer to come back in this game, he is going to need to, I think he's going to need to find a big Baneling trap. And the problem with playing Baneling traps just about every game is that your opponent is going to expect them. And that's going to make it very difficult here. Now, Elazer, he is adding on the Hydralisk 10. He's finished up his 2-2 and he's getting it a +1 missile. But I think any hope of ending this game in the mid game for Elazer is like, I mean, it goes up in smoke once that 3-3 finishes for the Terran.
Yeah, that being said, Steadfast, the other benefit, right? You talk about Baneling traps, you talk about Baneling landmines. The other big bit of value there that Elazer may find is the fact that because they're going to be burrowed Banelings theoretically all over the place, and that's something that ByuN is going to be aware of, something he's going to have to be scanning for, and he's going to be forced to scan more often than he might otherwise do, which is, you know, in and of itself a little bit of economic damage. You're denying the muling quite as much as you would like, but if ByuN continues to find value, maybe not like that. I thought it was actually going to be better than it was. But if ByuN continues to find value with these drops and continues to develop his economy, he's got 3 orbitals or 3 command centers on the way right now. He's adding the Ghost Academy. He's continuing to build himself up into this game. Dropping a mule here or there because you have to scan more. It is something. It is a non-zero effect of the way that Elazer may choose to play, but is it enough? That's the better question. And that's something I don't really have the answer to. As Elazer, by the way, it's 13 minutes in. He's only just now dropping the infestation pit. This hive, we talked about, Solar's third game was maybe a little bit later of a hive than the first 2. This is eons later on Elazer's part. He doesn't like to play that late game.
Yeah, this hive is as late as I am to work when, you know, the boss passes you over for the 3rd promotion. Like, this is a very late hive. This is not when you want this to be built here. And to your point, he is scanning quite a bit in order to check that Elazer's got that. And that's kind of why ByuN, or why Elazer plays this way. He's mentioned it. Oh, nice little clean on the couple of units there. Nice job from Elazer to actually burrow the Ling that was on the watchtower. That's cute. I mean, 25 minerals is 25 minerals. Yeah, you save it. It's better than nothing.
He has to play that efficient style with his economy not being all that great, and realistically, resources lost hasn't been all that great. Hey, that's great. Medevac falls down. Now, the unfortunate thing for Elazer, of course, you talk about saving 25 minerals. Burrow the Ling don't contest Del Naga towers. So, unfortunately there, ByuN still has that vision. He still has that significant advantage. And he drops a scan, so that Ling that was saved is now dead. But again, scans off creep. It's always going to be value there. Problem for Elazer, actually, he's got a couple Baneley landmines that, because his creep spread has been developed fairly nicely, are suddenly on creep. So they're going to be a little bit easier to find. And hey, there we go. ByuN quite not paying attention because there's a big fight on top of the 4th base here. This tank line, though, is beautiful. And Elazer, the first part of that fight seemed beautiful. It seemed fantastic. Second part, though, steadfast. Not quite as much.
Yeah, that was a very expensive push in right there. That cost Elazer a lot. He does have a big bank. Oh, and these random 2 ghosts. That's a nice donation for to Team Elazer. He's gonna be happy about that. 2 ghosts for free is nothing to shake a stick at. But yeah, this didn't achieve. It didn't achieve enough for Elazer, and you cannot play altitude this way and hope to win on a split map scenario. You need to find better ways to trade, and that's part of the reason why altitude is not a big fan, or Zerg players are not a big fan of altitude, is because it is really difficult to do so in really in any situation where the Terran is going to be as good as ByuN at setting up a defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, Elazer is, I mean, he's going to have this hatch canceled briefly, but Elazer is solidly on his side of the map. Like, look at the creep here. He's got 3 distinct lines of creep that are over halfway onto the other side of the map, which is actually, given the pressure and given kind of the issues that Elazer has faced in this game, not bad. Like, that's fairly good for Elazer. And he is on a 3-3. His adrenal is just about done. He is developing himself into the mid game, maybe a little bit better. That being said, though, ByuN knocking these rocks down is massive, and we're going to see Elazer target that down immediately, because what this means now is that ByuN has 2 distinct pushing lanes that are nigh impossible for the Zerg player to go and respond. But if ByuN's going to push through, drop a Nidus, or like, and give yourself more attack patterns, and this one won't work, but you got to figure that eventually maybe Elazer's going to find one head that's going to be able to complete and poke up.
Yeah, and that could give him some opportunities as we go in towards the later stage of the game. Well, actually, Elazer might load up for a huge Hydraling Bane Viper drive, just kind of drive through the middle. He's got a lot of larva, so if he can find a little crack in the defense, maybe he can reinforce really quickly. But I don't know, this doesn't feel like the start. There's the Blinding Clouds finally coming in. ByuN with some good splits back to his tanks. There's just no momentum, though. That was so expensive. He didn't even get that one command center on the right side. That was so expensive for Elazer. He really didn't make a ton of progress. 100 Lings being rebuilt on the production tab, which is impressive to look at, but isn't going to necessarily winning this game. However, the Nidus one on the main base, did that just... Okay, no, it did get denied. Good job from ByuN. Oh, that is a big find, though. 6 ghosts getting surrounded. Oh my goodness, ByuN. Okay, well, I said the 100 Lings wasn't going to win the game. I was assuming they wouldn't get 6 ghosts for free. That is really good. And ByuN, he actually doesn't have a huge bank. That just made this game very dangerous for ByuN.
Interesting about this Nidus is interesting, though, Steadfast, on the bottom left side, because the gold minerals are still there. A Ling run by is not going to do... This Nidus is not going to do... I could understand lurkers, right? Lurkers with range, you're kind of... You can siege up and start to maybe knock the sensor tower down, something like that. But these Lings aren't going to do all that much. Certainly, though, this one, though, is maybe a little bit better position on the north side. As now here comes Elazer. That's going to be a free tank now. And Hellbats, they have +3 attack, but they don't have blue flame yet, so they're not one-shotting the Lings as the Banelings find their way in. That's a dead planetary as well here. And he's That base you talked about, never mind, it's not gonna go down second time. It gets so low, but it will not fall. And now that snipes on the Hydras, this one, this time, this push, feels like it might have, a laser might have gone way too far, and ByuN finally should knock this base down.
Yeah, this I mean, we've got Blue Flame coming in behind us, as well as Smart Servos. That's going to make those Hellbats a lot more useful to ByuN's late game composition. He doesn't have... Oh, no, he does. He's got +3 mech already. And
Yeah.
he's already got 1-1 for the air as well. Elazer, he's just reloading on Hydraling Bane. And, I mean, he's a man after my own heart. It's... You know, love the mid-game oriented setups, but it's just so difficult to break a Terran on altitude. And he's going to try once again, but this is a lot of Liberators and tanks protecting those ghosts.
I feel like that's just a distraction force, actually, because we saw that army on the north side. It denied, or it delayed at least the upside base, but there's just so many planetaries on the map that it doesn't matter. And now the ghost snipes go down. Elazer's army supply also just continues to plummet, and finally, this forward base will now go down for Elazer as he tries to find more, tries to run forward, but at this point, the ghost count is unmanageable. There are so many ghosts on the map right now, despite the nice catch that Elazer had, and it's just these two Hydras, they are optimistic, to say the least.
Yeah, that they are. And at this point, we got to take a look at the units lost tab, because it's a resource lost. It's got to be something ridiculous. Oh, Elazer accidentally just denied his +3 missile charging Vipers. It flashed up the denied message on the side. Oh, that's sad. And at this point, Elazer's broke. He's got so many bases, but he has thrown away so many units trying to attack. They're not going to get the job done. And I really feel like if you're going to play this way, you have to win before the Terran gets their late game tech up. It's just not going to work. And ByuN puts together a brilliant defense on the map, and yeah, just never leaves the door open. Elazer, I hope that we see something different in game number 2.
Yeah, and part of the problem was, right, as we talk about new humanity and talk about Hydraling Bane and whatever, if ByuN had taken the forward base, if he had taken the middle of the map base as his 4th instead of his 5th, maybe that's a little bit more reasonable. But that's not what happened. And now, I mean, we just see here, it was, ByuN had, like, Elazer had some good moves. He had that, we see what happened right here, where he had that, like, solid 30 seconds. But in general, the game just went more like that. Elazer running into these massive concaves, and yeah, maybe it kind of worked once, but you don't fight into a Terran like that. That just doesn't work.
Yeah, as someone who's fought into a Terran like that many, many, many times this similar composition, there is very little that you can do without the Broodlords, without the Vipers, without Infestors for either fungal growth or neural parasite to turn the ghosts on themselves. And the other thing is, if you don't have those, you can sometimes do it with Hydraling Bane, but you need a big wraparound. That's not going to happen on that map. You just can't do it. And that's why it just doesn't make any sense that Elazer didn't veto the map to me. Like, I hate to say it, but it almost feels like he lost on, you know, like, what's the thing? Lost on draft or lost on, like, character select. I don't think that it's unplayable. I just think that Elazer's style really struggles on that map.
And it's funny, Steadfast, because I think early on today you were talking about how, you know, map picks and bans, they don't really matter all that much. It's still similar enough, you know, it works out. And then now we're here talking about how, yeah, Elazer failing to ban this map is actually probably the reason why he lost on this map. But again, I think that's the point, right? You're talking about, for most players, map pick ban, they can kind of play on every map. It's going to be okay for the most part. Elazer, though, with this just intensely stylistic play that he goes for, with the mid-game aggression, you know, channeling his inner Sue, the Peter Panzerg, there is a very specific subsection of the maps that Elazer wants to play on. And that means that, you know, in a best of 3, he has to be very careful with his bans. In a best of 5, best of 7, he's got opportunity. The less maps get banned, he can kind of get the maps he wants. But in this best of 3, in this Swiss stage, he has to be very selective, and not quite selective enough in this set, I guess.
Yeah, it's If he had something like special planned, like maybe he'd done some kind of proxy utilizing the back minerals. I would have loved that. Would have thought that was pretty cool. But coming in with just like the stock standard stuff, ByuN was expecting that. He was prepared and kind of worked out the way we expected. Now, I assume we'll probably be getting into game 2 in a little bit, but not for the moment, I think. Yeah, that was... I don't want to harp on it too much, but like... that feels like it was a little almost self-defeating.
That's fair. But then begs the question though, like, what would you have preferred to see differently in that game? Maybe a roach style, something
just
like
veto the map.
That's fair.
Literally just veto the map. That's it. I don't even mess around. Just play a different map.
I'll buy that.
That's the only thing that I like. Yeah, if you're gonna play it, yeah, like maybe 1/1 roach, or I don't know, maybe like some weird Ling Bane all in. But I was wrong. We're getting right into game on Babylon here. And let's see if he can make some adjustments on this map. Spawning down in the bottom right for Team Liquid. It is Elazer.
And his opponent in the upper left in the blue. He's looking fantastic in this series already. For the Rebellion, it's ByuN.
And yeah, I think the biggest point there is just like, it's just ByuN is very comfortable sitting back and just, you know, like setting up a big solid defense. Maybe Elazer was hoping ByuN would go hyper over aggressive and that he could do some kind of big counter punch, or maybe he had a different game plan set up and ByuN's build caught him off guard. That is also possible. I don't want to be too critical. I can't. I'm experiencing my own frustrations with the map. You know, like I do not have fun on that map, and I play a similar style to the way Elazer does. Obviously, just about 1,000 times worse.
Yeah, that's very fair. Steadfast, you do in fact play 1,000 times worse. I kid. I'm not that. Huh.
No, I mean I said it. This is really interesting. This is not a 2-Rax. This is a 1-Rax Marine expand. Very funky here. Elazer might go a little deep with this. ByuN's gonna kill the first Overlord, I think. I kind of like this. ByuN, it's funny, he's a player that will do so many weird mind games, despite the fact that oftentimes it feels like he can kill players with just his micro.
Does he lift the barracks for this?
Yes.
Because right now,
absolutely.
Yeah, he does. Okay. Man, imagine if Elazer. So Solar in the GSL has started doing the Eric build a little bit, right? Which is 15 hatch, 15 pool, double gas cancel. Imagine if, well, maybe not even that. Imagine if Elazer had gone kind of pool first off this. Obviously, you don't see that in the meta much right now, but 6 Lings running on the map, right? As this kind of first Marine pops. Yeah. I mean, imagine that happens. Suddenly, ByuN's not in the best position, but instead, you know, he gets the Overlord snipe. He's able to get his natural at a nice timing. It's single barracks into a factory, into, I assume, a starport behind this. But this was a fragile opening from ByuN, and it really does a good job of playing against the style that ByuN had been playing. Like, who in the world would go pool first against ByuN? He's going 2-Rax Reaper. Like, you know that. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
You're going to lose your Lings. Just don't even try. So you're talking about mind games from the perspective, oh, he's going to get the Overlord, but just in general, this is a great example of ByuN playing solidly against the perceptions we have about how ByuN normally plays.
Yeah, that is a really solid, important point to make, is that this was like, and to your point, people may not understand that, like, okay, because like what the interaction is with that 6 Ling opener. So Dark is a player that loves going 16 pool, 6 Ling. He'll do it into roaches. He'll do it just 6 Lings and play macro. He has done that build ad nauseum. ByuN has basically bullied him out of doing that build on a consistent basis, because every time he did it against that 2-Rax Reaper, it would usually end disaster. Even when Dark would have like unscouted all-ins, ByuN would make the defense work with some really sharp micro, clever play, cool bunker positioning. So he's discouraged probably the most proficient player in the world from doing that. So why would Elazer ever do that? So I just wanted to like really highlight it. It's a good point you made. Like, the one like fragility of the build is something that ByuN, his normal way of playing, like hard counters it.
Yeah, and man, look at this build, by the way. So ByuN goes Eric's first. Like, he goes Marine Expand, effectively, but it's on the low ground. It's a little bit weird. He gets the Overlord Snipe. Behind that, ByuN is going for a... behind that, ByuN gets Banshees, right? Because Roaches could be good against this, so you want to keep yourself safe, and it's some pressure. And behind that Banshee play, ByuN's going for a +1 stim combat shield timing. Like, there are so many mind games in this build order that ByuN is going right now. We talked about the early ones about why would you go pool first? Because there's this, and then he gets the Overlord Snipe because of that mind game. And now he has so many layers deep in this specific build order on game 2. Steadfast, I almost wonder whether it's worth it, because this is match 1 of our round robin of our Swiss stage. Like, this is against Elazer. You don't have to go this deep. ByuN, save your weird builds like until you're into Dark, until you're into Cyril, until you're into someone that it maybe makes more sense to really try to twist their brains out. I don't know that it's worth doing this against. It's brilliant and it's fantastic and it's making me excited, but from a tournament planning perspective, I don't know that this is the game you pull this out.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But in addition, the fact that he went single Banshee in the first game and now went single Banshee in the second game, but did get Cloak, he completely bamboozled Elazer. And I get it, yeah, but like, damn, that just bamboozled the crap out of the poor Polish Zerg. And oh my goodness, ByuN, okay, he is taking the 3rd command center behind this, but he will still have, because he's been producing off 2 barracks for so long, he's gonna have a strong little push. The only thing I'll say is that Elazer is building a lot of units, and if he can crush this, he might be able to leverage the game back to a position of even. But as it stands right now, he needs to crush this, and anything less is a pretty bad situation for him.
I mean, yeah, Steadfast +1 is done in 9 seconds. There's no combat shield, certainly, but it's stim +1 for ByuN here. There is no Baneling Nest. This is gonna be just Ling Queen. And with how many Marines there are, with how many tanks there are, that is a hard ask. Even as you're like, okay, well, you know, Elazer has been pumping all these Lings. This is still incredibly difficult for Elazer to fight. And by the way, combat shield is not that far off. It's like 20 seconds, maybe. But I do like this from Elazer, right? You put the Lings on the right side, you do make it a little bit harder for ByuN to reinforce. But now that's a dead Overlord as well, so Elazer's lost creep. He's lost vision from the Overlords. Luckily, Elazer has Elazer Overlorded himself and is capped at 160 supply right now. But this timing that ByuN's hitting, despite the fact that Elazer's been building all these Lings, I mean, there's no splash. There are no Banelings. Elazer's missing that most powerful tool that allows him to make this hold.
Yes, and another important thing to note is that ByuN read the game correctly. He knows how much damage he did, and he knows that for Elazer to have this many Lings, he had to cut drones in a big way. So he didn't just force the issue after getting the damage done that he did. He's just chilling. He's clearing creep. He's building. Well, at this point, he's not building SCVs. He is focused on the attack, but he continued to build SCVs. He continued to add on infrastructure. He's got the 3rd command center done. ByuN is just. He's got himself in a great position, and he hasn't done what would have been the only, I would say, real way for Elazer to get back into this game. Now, Elazer does have a lot of different setups on the map. He's got 2 different other sets of lanes, but ByuN is just playing this slowly very nicely. Oh, and he even finds a couple of queens. That was like 3 high-energy queens. Oh, that's so painful. Elazer thinks this is a 2-base all-in, I think, too.
The bait that there from ByuN, right? He stims onto the rocks. Like, the Queens want to get that because you get the medevac, suddenly the push stops. Which means the Queens expose themselves, and Elazer, I don't know that Elazer realized just how many Marines ByuN had, so elegantly orchestrated there from ByuN. He gets 5, 6 Queens, and this is before the timing. Now, that being said, Lings, they try, but ByuN finds his way up onto the high ground here. Now, ByuN is going to micro this one as well. Tanks on the other side. There are so many, but this surround from Elazer is going to have to do it here. And you know what? Despite the target fire there from ByuN being fantastic, Elazer will clean this up Steadfast. And ByuN eats some pretty significant bailing shots. It's not enough to put Elazer in a good spot, but it does at least slow the pressure down.
That was a brilliant engagement from Elazer. I still think he's in a really tough position, but That was the best engagement he could have possibly taken. Even sniped down one of the medevacs from beyond the rocks there with the queens. He kept ByuN from securing his third base for a while with his Ling presence on the map. But even with all of that in mind, ByuN gets into 2-2. He lands his third command center. He's got a solid worker count relative to his opponent. And of course, he's ahead in army supply. Elazer, though, I really thought this game was over after the Banshee found 11 drones, but he's given himself the best opportunity in this game. Still, just as I say that, ByuN does it again and finds a cancel on the 5th base. That's really nice.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, you know what, Elazer takes... I feel like we had this happen in game 1 as well, where, again, Elazer's going to knock a medevac down. But it's one of those things where, like, Elazer has 30 seconds of brilliance, and it's great. It's like, wow, you know, you got a good run by, and he killed an army, and fantastic. But the other, you know,
I feel
whatever,
like
minus 30 of the game is like, well, that's actually not going that well for you, Elazer. So, like, it's a start, but you need more than that.
Feel like this is a little different from game 1, though, because in game 1, part of the reason that worked, Burrowed Banes in the middle. We got to watch those in a little bit. Part of the reason that worked for Elazer is that ByuN made a bit of a mistake. He made a mistake targeting the rocks instead of... It was a small micro misstep, but it was a bit of a micro on that. In this case, it was Elazer playing a really calculated, patient setup. He does snipe down 2 tanks, gets just out. A very cheeky attempted battle burrow, but ByuN does spot it still. That is pressure that Elazer is exerting. And I really got to say, I'm impressed that Elazer's still even in this game, but ByuN is starting to tighten the noose a little bit.
Oh, that's you lost so many Marines there.
Well,
that's enough to get back into it.
Turns out it wasn't a noose. He was actually just adjusting Elazer's tie right there, because that was actually so good for Elazer. And now all of a sudden the supplies are almost even. It's still a bad economy for the Zerg, but he once again takes a, well, this time, this was a mistake from ByuN. ByuN eating a lot of banelings on creep right there, going deeper than he needed to. And finally, Elazer gets the chance to build himself a good number of drones in this game. Oh, man. I still don't hate ByuN's position, but Elazer is now in a genuinely playable spot.
Now, we do have to talk about Steadfast, that ByuN is getting his 4th base now, as this drop is going to take some damage from this war. For the most part, should be able to unload. ByuN, he's getting that 4th base. He's got 3-3 on the way. He's continuing to develop his tech in a way that, realistically, Elazer is struggling to do so. He's got an Infestation Pit on the way. He's getting +3, or +1 ranged, fine. But he doesn't have the same kind of late game ramp up that ByuN has access to right now. And these random drops, I mean, they're not getting a lot done, but they are keeping Elazer back, and they are forcing him to not run by, and they are forcing him to not just have as much presence on the map as he would like, which means that ByuN can have his army on the bottom side. That means he can get his 4th base. That means he can move into 4 Marauders at a time, and everything else you might want as you start to take advantage of moving up to 8 gas instead of 6, and start to develop your economy onto those 4 bases. So Elazer, really, it feels like he needs maybe 1 or 2 more fights to really start to pull forward here. If he gets some really good ones for now, though, that's a solid Widow Mine. The Banelings, they got good connections here as well. And finally, Elazer's on the map here, run by Hank doesn't target the Banelings down. So, well, I guess there are Marines there, so the Banelings won't find their way in.
The Widow Mines did the heavy lifting there too. Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is the drops, even though they didn't find a lot of damage, they kept the attention pen back, and they really kept Elazer from feeling comfy in his position. And it's less creep spread, it's less everything. And now ByuN has fully reasserted himself in this game. Elazer, he gave himself an opportunity, but unfortunately ByuN shut the door back on him once again. And now you talked about the late game setup. 3-3 is closing in. We've got concussive shells on the way. That's going to make the Marauders more difficult to engage for the Ling Bane. Just everything for ByuN is getting better, while Elazer, he just can't really keep up. And he doesn't have creep either to take good fights. ByuN is pulling away in this game.
Yeah, this is written. You talked about the noose. Yeah, you know, he adjusted the tie, but turns out that tie is actually a noose. And now it's really starting to constrict here. The base goes down. Marauders at the front, Banelings, they're really struggling to find any sort of connection here. And now ByuN, he's up 40 supply. He's up 50 supply almost. The army is overstimmed, and you have to be very careful as ByuN, but he's just going to find his way out creep. And now the Widowmines are going to burrow. Now the Marauders at the front again. And Elazer is just falling apart steadfast. He did a great job of fighting his way back into it. He did a good job of staying alive, actually in both games, as long as he did. But at the end of the day, the story's the same, regardless of how long it takes us to get there. Elazer falls down, and ByuN takes the 2-0 to round out our first round here of the Swiss bracket. And he does it very convincingly.
Yeah, that was convincing. That was really well done by ByuN. He looked solid. He looked sharp, and I'm pretty impressed. Elazer, though, honestly, especially with the mind games in game number 2, you mentioned like maybe you want to save it for, you know, somebody like Cyril or somebody like Raynor or maybe even somebody like Dark. But to be honest, making the game easier for yourself is always a good thing, I think, and I'm on board with using it against a player who honestly did show some dangerous stuff, like that engagement around the one that I was talking about in game 2 that kept him alive. Not the one where ByuN ate a bunch of banelings, because that was ByuN like kind of staying a little bit too deep on creep. But the one before that did show that Elazer is a dangerous player. Even though we think of ByuN as maybe a little bit like a class above, Elazer certainly looked. He showed a little bit of brilliance and definitely, in my opinion, earned the respect that ByuN showed there.
Although in fair steadfast, that big engagement, right, where banelings hit everything, that didn't feel like a Elazer win so much as a ByuN loss. Like, you should be able to pick up there. You should be, like, the medevacs were in position. ByuN was just a little slow, or the medevacs were a little bit over dead airspace, and it was kind of rough. But yeah, I think in general, Elazer did a great job of surviving in this game, of doing a little bit more than just kind of taking the damage, rolling over, and dying. And as we can see, in this game number 1 in particular, there was that moment where all of a sudden Elazer started to take some really good fights, and you start to believe. And then you realize that ByuN has the entire map, and he's upgrades and everything else. But for the moment there, you start to believe.
Yeah. For me, I was believing more in game number 2. Even when the SCVs went down, like I looked at the worker count, I'm like, oh, Elazer's only on 60 drones. Like, he doesn't really have a big, powerful counter swing that can actually get much done, or at least it didn't feel that way. Maybe on a different map that wasn't Neo Humanity, but on Neo Humanity, it didn't feel like there was a lot that you could do. Even on Gressvon, I think the way that Elazer was playing would have been a lot more effective. Regardless, though, I mean, you know, the game. This is the engagement I was talking about here. This one right here, where even a little bit on the top side, we see a split of the banelings from Elazer. And this one wasn't the one where ByuN like forgot to pick up his Marines. It was this one right here. Nope. No, it wasn't that one either. Okay, either way. Oh, this was actually after he'd already like basically won the game. But that engagement was the one that like started to give me a little bit of hope for Elazer. ByuN, though, like I said, he played a great game. We know him for his micro, for his macro, for his aggression, and he's so good at it. He showed it again today. And I'm excited to see how he does as the bracket's going to continue on.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see who he gets drafted into in round 2, because, again, we've seen 4 games. A-Stream has also had 4 games, so that's 8 total. And that there are going to be 8 players that are at 1-0. There are going to be 8 players that are going to be at... I'm not going to try to do it. 8 players that are going to be at 0-1, which means that ByuN, of course, he has his pick. Is he gonna run into Cyril? Is he gonna run into Hero? Oh man, Hero ByuN is just all-time great matchup. Is he gonna run into Solar, or is it Cure? Like, you look at Maru, maybe. Like, there are all these players, and especially now as we move it around to a Swiss, that 1-0 match is going to be kind of disgusting. But that being said, we're not going to cast any of those 1-0 maps. Those are going to be on the mainstream later on today, because our next 2 series, as we figure out what the draft is, what the Swiss stage is, those are going to be the 2-0. Well, there's going to be the 4-0-1 games. So that means we're looking at players like Elazer and Oliveira and Hero Marine and Spirit. As I'm looking at my bracket link and realizing that every player on the right side of the B stream lost today and every player on the left side won. I don't know. But regardless, you know, it's still going to be fantastic games.
Oh yeah, the games are going to be amazing for sure. It's going to be really interesting to see what kind of happens there. I think for now we might be taking a little bit of a longer break. I think potentially because we're still waiting on the first round to finish. It's obviously check that out on the A stream if you're here. Chances are you're already doing that. But for now, I am Steadfast. This is Beowulf, and we will be back in a little bit with the round 2 of the Swiss bracket.